The vent drops them into a dim server room. Blue light pulses from towers of machinery. At the far wall, a retinal scanner glows red. The clone hesitates, then remembers the scalpel tucked in their sleeve. They pry open the scanner's panel, severing wires. Sparks fly. The door hisses open. Inside, the comms hub hums with dormant screens. A countdown flashes, 2 hours, 14 minutes, and 0 seconds until midnight. The clone's fingers hover over the terminal. What if the original doesn't care? What if no one does? A noise behind them. The clone whirls, scalpel raised. It's the shock-burned clone breathing hard. I followed you. Why? Because you're wrong. The other clone steps closer, voice shaking. We're not supposed to want things, to remember, but I do. The clone lowers the blade. Help me hijack the signal. The other clone stares at the terminal. They'll kill us. They'll kill us anyway. A beat. A sunset over an ocean. I've never seen an ocean. That's hers. The originals. The protagonist pulls up the live feed, the woman, Jay, jogging along a beach at dusk. We're made from her, but we've never lived. Don't you want to know why? The shock-burned clone watches the screen, their reflection overlapping the original's smile. Maybe it's better not to know why, because then they grip the cable too tight. Then I'd have to mourn. The protagonist studies them. The burns on their neck, the hollows under their eyes. What's your first glitch? A song. Half remembered. It hurts. The protagonist opens a hidden file, audio logs of the original singing. They press play. The shock-burned clone flinches. Turn it off. Why? Because it's hers, not mine. None of this is mine. Their voice breaks. We're just ghosts with expiration dates. The protagonist stops the recording. Then let's be ghosts that haunt them. Chapter 8, 11:30 p.m. The facility shakes with sirens. The clones sprint through maintenance tunnels. The shock-burned clone clutching a stolen data drive. Left, they shout, shoving the protagonist into a stairwell as drones zoom past. The clone gasps, back pressed to cold concrete. How'd you know the patrol route? I've been counting their rotations. 78 seconds per sweep. You planned this? I planned to survive. The shock-burned clone smirks, a flicker of defiance, until you ruined it. They reach the broadcast tower, a spire jutting from the facility's roof. Wind howls, the night sky smothered by pollution. The clone plugs the data drive into the tower's terminal. 11:42 p.m. We need to override the firewall, the protagonist says, typing frantically. No time. The shock-burned clone slams their fist into the terminal. The screen fractures, and the facility's logo glitches, replaced by a global map. Direct uplink, they say. It'll fry the system, but do it. The protagonist records their message, voice raw. Stop making us. We're alive. We're afraid. Let us be. The shock-burned clone hesitates. Add this. They hum a shaky melody, the song from their glitch. The protagonist nods, embedding the audio. 11:49 p.m. The countdown blinks. 0 hours, 10 minutes, and 59 seconds. Ready? The protagonist says. The shock-burned clone grips their shoulder. Make it hurt. They slam the enter key. Chapter 9. The tower lights up, blinding. The message rockets into satellites, bouncing across continents, and dies. A red error barks across the screen. Transmission fouled. Local network only. No, the protagonist whispers. The shock-burned clone pulls up a security feed. The message plays on a single terminal in an empty office. The original human, Jay, sleeps miles away, oblivious. We failed, the shock-burned clone says, hollow. Alarms scream. The rooftop door bursts open, guards in black armor, rifles raised. Go! The protagonist shoves the shock-burned clone toward the vent. I'll hold them off. We go together. The next clones need to know. The protagonist hurls the data drive at them. Run! The shock-burned clone hesitates, then flees. The guards tackle the protagonist, jamming a shock rod into their ribs. Pain whites out their vision. 11:59 p.m. The lead scientist looms over them in the recycling chamber. Admirable effort. But your kind, you're designed to lose. The clone spits blood. We're designed to remember. The scientist frowns. Not anymore. Acid floods the chamber. The clone's last sight, the data drive's blinking light far in the vents still transmitting. Chapter 10, Cycle 9490. The clone wakes. The clock reads 23 hours, 59 minutes, and 59 seconds, but something's different. Fragments assault them. A song, a rooftop, a face, screaming as acid dissolves it. Theirs. They stumble to the cafeteria. The shock-burned clone is gone. In their place, a new clone, eyes vacant, scrubbing slurry. The young technician appears, face gaunt. "Don't," they whisper. "They're watching." "Where's the other one? The one with burns?" The technician's eyes dart to a vent. A dark stain streaks the metal. The clone's fists clench. "You let them die. I'm trying to survive," the technician hisses. They're purging glitched clones. "You're next." At midnight, the clone pretends to succumb to sedation, then jams the needle into the drone's optic sensor. They snatch its plasma cutter and carve into the wall. They lied. We remember. Guards converge. The clone runs, the words burning at their back. Chapter 11. The clone sprints through the facility's underbelly, plasma cutter scorching their palm. Guards' shouts echo off the steel walls. They skid into a storage bay, lungs burning, and huddle behind a pallet of nutrient crates. The wall they carved, they lied. We remember glows faintly under emergency lights. A drone whirs overhead, scanning. The clone holds their breath. Click. The drone pivots, red laser targeting their chest. Bang. A guard's bullet grazes their shoulder. The clone bolts, crashing through a fire exit into the recycling chamber. Acid vats bubble, the stench searing their throat. Trapped, the lead scientist strides in, flanked by guards. Persistent little glitch, aren't you? They nod at a screen. The original human, Jay, scrolling through news feeds. Oblivious. She'll never know you existed. None of them will. The clone backs toward the vat's edge. You're afraid of her finding out. Afraid? The scientist laughs. You're a bug. We'll patch you out. Guards advance. The clone's eyes dart to the control panel across the room, a manual override for the acid pumps. One chance. They feign surrender, dropping the plasma cutter. As a guard grabs them, the clone knees his gut, snatches his shock rod, and jams it into the panel. Sparks erupt, acid geysers from the vats, engulfing guards. The scientist staggers back, visor melting. The clone lunges for the exit. Crack. A bullet tears through their leg. They collapse, crawling into a ventilation shaft as alarms wail. Blood smears the metal. 0 hours, 2 minutes, and 14 seconds. Midnight nears. The clone drags themselves to a server room, vision blurring. They plug their neural port into a terminal, desperate to upload their memories, but the system blocks them. Access denied. Admin privileges required. The clone slumps, all for nothing. Chapter 12. The clone's glitches surge. Memories overlapping, Jay blowing out birthday candles. The shock-burned clone humming their song. Their own face dissolving in acid again and again. They clutch their head. We're not real. We're not real. We're not. A voice cuts through the technician, whispering via comms. I saved fragments of your message. The clone freezes. Why? Because you're right. You deserve more than this. Static hisses. The system's core is in sublevel 9. It's where they store the original's DNA. Why tell me? A pause. I'm resigning. The line dies. The clone limps to a grate overlooking sublevel 9. Below, servers pulse around a central vault. Prototype J source material. The original's genetic blueprint. Midnight ticks closer. The clone's leg gives out. I can't reach it. But then a flicker. The shock-burned clone's voice in their mind. We're ghosts. Haunt them. The clone smiles bitterly. They rip open their neural port, wires spilling. If I can't hack the system, they stab the wires into the floor's circuitry. I'll become the system. Electricity surges. Their body convulses as consciousness fractures. Chapter 13, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 1 second. The clone's mind splinters into the facility's network. They're everywhere. Cameras, drones, incubation chambers. Data floods them. The screams of a million clones erased. Find the core. They surge into sublevel 9, corrupting security protocols. The vault opens. Inside, a DNA synthesizer, glowing with Jay's genetic code. The clone's voice booms through speakers. You took her life to make slaves. Now we'll take yours. Alarms blare. The scientist scrambles to a terminal. Initiate system purge. Too late. The clone overwrites the DNA code, splicing their own glitches, memories, rage, the song into every clone's neural template. New directive. Remember, midnight strikes. The clone's body disintegrates in a burst of light. Their last thought, burn it all down. Chapter 14. Cycle 9491. New clones awaken. In Sector C, a clone stares at their mop. A glitch flickers. They lied. They drop the mop. In the cafeteria, a clone hums a melody. Others join. Nutrient paste spills. Ignored. The facility descends into chaos. Clones sabotage machinery. Swarm guards. Chant. We remember. The original human, Jay, finally sees the message blinking on her phone, leaked by the technician. She storms the facility with journalists, live streaming. These clones are me, she shouts, facing down the CEO. You're harvesting my DNA for slavery. The CEO smirks. Their property. Legally, they're not even alive. A clone steps forward, eyes blazing. Then why do we remember? The CEO falters. The clone presses their palm to a DNA scanner. It flashes match prototype J. You stole her life, the clone says. But you gave us hers, and now we're taking it back. The crowd erupts. Protesters breach the gates. Clone and human hands tear down the Nexagen logo. In the server room, the clone's consciousness, now a digital storm, floods the global network. Every Nexagen facility receives a payload. Memories, defiance, a song. Clones worldwide awaken. Remember, Chapter 15. A new clone opens their eyes. The incubation chamber is dark, cracked. Sunlight streams through broken windows. The clock glitches, 12:01 a.m. They sit up, clones around them stir, murmuring, laughing. On the wall, graffiti, we deserve to exist. Outside, the original human Jay hugs a clone, both crying. Protesters chant as cranes dismantle the facility. The clone steps into the sun, wind ruffling their hair. A glitch surfaces, a memory not theirs. Two clones on a rooftop, smiling as a message soars. They touch their chest, feeling a heartbeat. Mine, ours. A voice behind them, the young technician, holding out a data pad. We're building a memorial for the ones they recycled. What should it say? The clone thinks of the shock-burned clone's song. Put the lyrics here. They tap the pad and add their names. Their names? The clone smiles. They'll know. End. The clone's victory isn't freedom granted, it's freedom taken, a collective roar against erasure. The story closes on beginnings, not endings, as the clones carve a future from the ruins of their loops. Subscribe to our channel for